Alright, so as you can see, I removed all the springs out of here, the shock, and some of the extra bracing from in here, and I've came through and I've welded it solid. And I did lift this up a little bit. You don't have to do that. Alright, so I'm going to start getting the frame built, the motor and whatever else I want to mount to it can be mounted to. I'm going to come right in here and I'm just going to use this 1x1 square tubing, and I'm going to build basically a rectangle frame to sit right on top of the tunnel here. And we're going to get to that point. We'll get it painted and bolted down, and then we can start looking at where the motor is going to sit exactly, get our motor plate mounted and everything, and go from there. Alright everybody, so kind of our next step is going to be to get this motor plate mounted. We're going to get another bar cut to go across here, get it all mounted up here and see how everything's fitting. We'll have to run to the hardware store, get some bolts for the motor to bolt it to this plate. I got this bar welded in. Now we're going to set this up on the tunnel here like it is, and it's what I'm going to do is I'm going to come right back here on the back, and these rivets, I want to keep those. I'm just going to line it up right with the back of that, and then we are going to get some bolts in this, get it bolted down just temporarily so nothing can move, and then we'll get our engine mounted and go from there. Alright, so we got our hole drilled out there. We're going to get our threaded insert put onto the tool. Basically is what you do. You open up the jaws as far as you can, screw this down all the way, insert it into the hole, and then you just squeeze it all together. And then you just untwist your tool from it. So I didn't have all the bolts to hold the base frame down, and I want to have it held down solid before I mount the motor plate on it and figure out where it's going to go. So what I'm going to do is move on to the handlebars and kind of show you guys how I build them, what my preferences are. I'm going to use some 1x1 square tubing. And I'm going to make it so that they basically pivot and rest right here on this back bumper. You will notice I did have to cut part of that back bumper off. I'm going to leave these about 4 feet long and just basically make a U shape on it. And that'll come up right there, weld one bar across in between them. Alright, so I found this piece of square tubing is going to be perfect. I'm not going to have to cut it or anything. It's a leftover from our main brace, like part of where the engine's going to mount. So I'm going to come in and weld it here. It's going to be about 1/8 of an inch wider than what the tunnel is, which will be good because then hopefully it'll allow everything to pivot the way I want it to. I'll be able to put one washer in there and make it work really good. Alright, I'm going to get the hole drilled in the bars where it's going to go through the tunnel. I'm going to use one of these stepper bits. I feel like with the just how short it is, I feel like I do have more control over it than I do a regular drill bit. And I can be a little bit more precise with it. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. It's just what works for me. So this is looking like it's going to work out perfect. I like it if my handlebars sit up to keep my arms at about 90 degrees. It gives me a lot of leverage to push down to help get the front end up off the ground. It's about the perfect length from my sled to the tow hitch. So I'm going to use these 1/2-inch bolts. I like to use these ones with the smooth part in them. That way the handlebars are riding here on a solid part, not out here on the threads where it's going to wear it out a lot faster. We're going to get them put on there and see how the handlebars work. So I'm going to put one washer on the outside, 2 on the inside of each side. That way it'll just help space it just a little bit out from the frame or from the tunnel and allow us to pivot it a little easier. So let's get them set into place. So we got the bars mounted up there, we got the bolts in it. Basically the way the bars are going to work is we're going to fold this forward. It'll pivot down. I'll build some stops for it to rest on so it's not bouncing on the top of the motor. We're going to get them mounted permanently, get trimmed up what we need to, and then we'll start throwing some paint on it. So we're going to get some things trimmed up here. I don't know if you noticed, probably hard to tell in the video, but this, after we trimmed the running board off, we then made an ankle delete kit right here. So we're going to go ahead and trim that off because we kind of like our ankles. Don't want to tear a pair of coveralls or a pair of snow boots on that when you're walking around it, or worse, take off your ankle. So I've done about everything I can on it tonight. I'm going to throw a layer of spray paint on it. I'm going to try using this professional rubberized undercoating. Alright, so it's a new night. We're going to get the frame put back on it. And we'll get the motor plate mounted on, and then we can get some paint on it and start moving forward with this thing. We can get the motor plate welded right exactly where we need it and start making some good progress. We're not too far from being to where we could at least go out and use it if we wanted to. So we're gonna just work on it and get it to that point. And I did decide to wait and get the heavier engine plate for it. I just felt like with that 8 horsepower motor that I would probably need it just a little bit beefier plate. Alright, so we're going to get our sprocket, get it put on here in a semi-permanent spot so we kind of get an idea. We're going to get our motor set up there, and I'll grab a chain, we'll throw it around there so we can make sure that we get everything most of the way straight. There will be a little bit of tolerance to where we can pivot the motor side to side just a little bit to make sure that we're lined up 100% on the final install. So I'm going to grab that sprocket, get that set up there, and we'll get things lined up. Alright, so now we've got our handlebars. I've put these handlebars back on the sled. I'm going to get these mounted onto here. That way I have somewhere to mount my thumb throttle to. Eventually I am going to add brakes to this one. But I'm just going to get these about where they just feel comfortable to me and get them welded on. Let that cool down. I'm probably gonna find something that I can come in here and add a little piece like down into here, just to add some strength to those handlebars. I don't trust just that one little weld with how much you push down on the handlebars and have to kind of lean on them to help turn with a track sled. I do want a little bit more strength in there. Alright, we got all the welding done on both those that we need to. I'm going to get some paint thrown on them. I'm going to go with this blue, just some good old-fashioned Rust-Oleum. Alright, so we've got everything painted up. We've got the frame painted, the handlebars painted. They do need a little bit of touch-up, but we'll get to that as time goes on. We're going to get the frame mounted back down, then we're going to get the motor mounted onto the plate, and get the throttle cable nut hooked up and go to there.
Holding on to it.
That would not be good, would it?
Nope.
going to get a chain built for this here, and then we can get our master link in it, get everything positioned. We got a lot of movement in the motor of us going forward or back with it, so the chain doesn't have to be 100% precise. We've got a lot of adjustment in our motor plate to be able to tighten it. I bought this chain breaker here at the Hobo Freight. Seems to work out pretty good. I've definitely used a lot worse ones than this one. Alright, you can always pick up extra master links at most farm or implement stores. A lot of farm equipment run chains. Or you can buy them off of Amazon, eBay, anywhere like that. It's always a good idea to carry a few extra with you on the snow dog or track sled, whatever you want to call it, just in case you were to ever break one. I've never had a problem, but it kind of sucked to get stranded out on the ice without over a little chain link. Alright, so as you can see, I have a lot of play here in this chain. I'm just going to pull the motor back, get it tightened up. A lot of people run chain tensioners on them. I've never had a problem with it, but I've never ran a really long chain like a lot of people will when they set the motor more towards the middle. I've always just ran short ones because I always want the back as long as I can get it so that I have more storage room. Alright, so we're going to get this airbox removed, start getting our throttle linkage and that set up for our carburetor and whatnot. So we're going to go to that point. Alright, you do have to loosen this nut up just a little bit. Once you do that, it'll allow that throttle to move more freely. Just make sure you get it loose enough that it can move on its own and do its thing. Alright, so I got the throttle on the engine figured out. I still need to get my thumb throttle mounted onto here. That's what I'm going to work on. It looks like this handlebar grip is maybe held in just by a roll pin, so I'm going to try to knock that out. And I'd like to be able to reuse these handlebar grips if I can. we got that on there. I'm going to take this cover off. We're going to get our cable fed into it. And there's not really a right or wrong way to, or right or wrong lever to use for your throttle. I know a lot of people like to use more of a bike brake lever type throttle on it. I don't know why, I just prefer the thumb throttle. Just what I've always had, and it's always worked out good for me, so I'm just going to keep using it. Alright, so I've got this set up. I don't have my cable ran through and put through here yet. I'm gonna, before I get too carried away with getting the throttle the rest of the way hooked up, I am gonna get another spring. This one came with, or was on here, but on the other side, pulling it the other way originally. I'm going to get another spring. I don't like that one. It feels really weak to me. And it doesn't return the throttle back all the way where I would like it to. So I'm gonna get another one, probably mount it over here somewhere, pulling this way, and I'm gonna do that. I have to wait till tomorrow till the stores are open till I can grab one. Get that done tomorrow night. Hopefully we'll be able to get it fired up and see if it'll move on its own. Alright, we're gonna get this clutch put on here. We're just about ready to drive it. I finally got the throttle figured out. Once we get the clutch put on, we can start getting everything bolted up here tight and be ready to take her for a rip. So we'll get that done. I'm gonna have to drill this out for my bigger bolt hole, and then go from there.
The best thing was this house.
Alright, so we finally got it done. We're gonna do our first fire up on it, see if it'll move. We're gonna aim it towards the fence back here. That way if anything goes terribly wrong, it hits the fence and we can get her shut down. But let's see if this thing moves. I know,
That went a little crazy. Yeah. It drives the daddy really bad.
Alright, see, that's why you aim it towards the fence, just in case something like that happens. Kind of looks like the throttle lever was bent down a little bit and catching on a piece of plastic. Looks like it's going to work better now. Let's go for test 2. Girls, step out of the way over there, okay? Alright, it's starting to get dark out here. We had a little mishap with the throttle. I think I've got that resolved. So we're going to start up and try it out and see if it moves.
Hopefully it moves.
if you decide to build one of these, I would highly suggest going with the 6.5 motor. The ones that I used in the past, I've never had any of these problems with them of trying to get the throttle to adjust or anything like that. I decided to go with the 301 on this. I'm not really sure why. I'm kind of regretting my decision. Alright, I think that's a wrap. It seems to be running good and finally working for me. And so I hope that's all the problems that we deal with on it. But anyways, thanks for following along. We're gonna go ahead and start adding baskets and different things to it. But you could take this out right now, throw a tote on there, a milk crate, anything like that, hook your sled to the back to your hitch and go out on the ice and have a good time or whatever.